Looking to develop your leadership skills and drive change in the issues you are passionate about? The Fells Institute of Government's Master of Public Administration programs at the University of Pennsylvania offer experiences shaped by our dynamic students and enriched by faculty and staff committed to your academic and professional success. Our programs equip future public leaders with the managerial and analytical toolkit needed to think critically and solve complex societal issues. Immersed in Philadelphia, an inspiring civic laboratory, students can make an impact locally or use the skills they learn in the classroom to affect change in communities across the globe. Courses are taught by recognized experts and practitioners, and career support begins on day one. Our faculty and advisors work with you closely to identify your professional goals, map out your career strategy, and align your electives and program opportunities to advance your career. Fells graduates are a connected community and stand out wherever they go for their ability to innovate and generate solutions. Join us for a virtual information session to learn about our courses, experiential learning opportunities, and extensive alumni network. Details at fells.upenn.edu.
Coming to you from Kansas City, Missouri, this is GovLove, a podcast about local government. I'm Lauren Palmer, partner with EverStrive Solutions, and your host for this episode. GovLove is produced by ELGL, the Engaging Local Government Leaders Network. You can support GovLove by becoming a member of ELGL. Visit elgl.org today and learn more. My guest today is Aarón Zavala, the assistant to the city manager in Pleasanton, California. We are talking to Aarón as part of our series of episodes featuring local government leaders in Northern California in conjunction with Camp GovLife, the 2025 ELGL conference in Santa Rosa, California. Aarón is a 2025 top influencer in local government, recognized for his leadership in diversity, equity, including, and belonging work across multiple organizations. Aarón, welcome to GovLove.
Thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure to be on. I'm really looking forward to Camp GovLife. I was born in the city of Santa Clara, but grew up most of my life in Santa Rosa. And coincidentally, I went to elementary school from kindergarten through 8th grade, about a block away from the Flamingo Hotel.
Oh my gosh, I love this. I can't wait to talk with you more about Northern California and Camp GovLife. But before we dive in, we want to begin with our lightning round to get to know you a little bit better. So your first question, what is something you are reading, watching, or listening to that you recommend to our GovLove audience?
Thank you for the question. So, as mentioned, I work in the East Bay, but I currently live in Sonoma County. And so right now I commute about 160 miles round trip, 4 days a week. So unfortunately, I haven't been reading as much as I'd like. But I just attended the equities. Right? It's a lot. It's a lot. I wanted to fast forward my progression in local government. Loved the environment that I was in, loved the city that I was in. Um, my commute was probably about 15, 20 minutes. But I needed to make a move to kind of further progress. And so love the city that I'm in now. And the opportunities and the projects I'm working on. But yeah, I know it's a shocker, right? Definitely a long kind of trip, but I have a lot of time on my hands. So a couple podcasts I've been listening to at least is NPR's Up First podcast. I'm really liking to get my daily dose of kind of news in the national level. I typically am reading the paper on online versions locally in Sonoma County, but also in the Tri-Valley, so in the East Bay. And then audiobooks I've listened to recently are The Loudest Duck by Laura Liswood, and then The Power of Bridging by John A. Powell. So The Loudest Duck really talks about kind of just equity and how bridging kind of everyone along. And it was really interesting. There's a certain chapter in a segment where the author was looking at women leaders and looking at, and she interviews all heads of state that have been women in the world. It was kind of fascinating the fact that she was able to meet all of them, but she was getting various tidbits on adaptability and what creates or what helps those leaders be successful.
Cool. Sounds up my alley. Thanks for the recommendation.
Of course. Question.
If you could work in any fictional office or workspace, what would it be and why?
Thank you for the question. I think I'd have to say Parks and Rec, kind of Pawnee City Hall. It was really interesting. I started local government over in the Dallas Fort Worth area. I was meeting a lot of people. No one had any idea what a management analyst was. And my go to was kind of describing what Tom Haverford did, a little bit of everything, a lot of special projects, and having fun along the way.
Oh, I love that. I gotta come up with a new question because I feel like every time I ask that in the local government world, people are like, Parks and Rec. It's amazing how much in that show like hit close to home. Like, oh yeah, there was like an episode on historic preservation that came out like the week I was working on a gnarly historic preservation issue.
That's funny. There's so many different things that you can relate to. There's so many different personalities. Um, it's funny because my first director would talk about how there's probably just as much content in like a public works department, and you can go in many different ways, which would be amazing content in a
Yeah,
show. And
fun. All right, and then finally, an oldie but a goodie on the Gov podcast. What's your most controversial non-political opinion?
so this was a tough one to really think about. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world right now, and so I wanted to narrow in on something with local government. And so I believe the three most important things for cities are not public safety, infrastructure, and fiscal health. I believe they're community engagement, organizational culture, and technology or innovation. So most city budgets prioritize police, fire, and roads. But if you have genuine communication and community engagement, you make better decisions about these services. If you have a stronger organizational culture, you retain talent and deliver better services. And if you embrace innovation, you can solve different problems that come up before they become crises. You can be resilient. So I think these are foundational pieces.
Okay, you are just diving in with like a heavy answer. Most of the time, people say, like, I hate ketchup when I ask this question.
That's fair. I was thinking more about food for later on when describing Sonoma County, to be honest with you.
Okay, we'll save it then. I can't wait. I'm sorry I just glossed over your answer though. That is like a great teaser, I think, for more that we're going to learn about you and your passion for local government. And I can't wait to get into it. So let's dive into the interview. Ron, I always have my guests start by telling us just kind of your story of your career trajectory. So trajectory, excuse me. So tell us about your career in local government, starting from kind of your first introduction to public service and how you got into your current position.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Um, I would like to start with my path to local government was not linear at all. I did not grow up thinking that I wanted to go into public service. I know I wanted to help people. And I initially kind of wanted to be a doctor, specifically in sports medicine. And so started off as a bio pre-med major as an undergraduate, kind of freshman at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, but 9 hours of lab a week was tough. And calculus just wasn't for me. So I ended up transferring home and was at Santa Rosa Junior College. So back in Santa Rosa. And I switched to political science, thinking that I eventually want to go into law school and become a lawyer. I ultimately transferred to Sonoma State University, and that's kind of where it all clicked, where I got involved in organizations. I was elected president of two organizations, one about 112 members, another about 600. And I really fell in love with organizational leadership. So that's kind of what drew me into public service. I'm post undergrad. I worked for the Bohemian Club, which they have about 3,000 acres in West Sonoma County, under the redwoods. Um, don't necessarily agree with kind of the history of the social club, but some they operate or they operated similar to a small city. where the population would be anywhere from 50 people to about 3,000 in the summer months. And they had kind of building and planning, water and wastewater, garbage. I got to manage the fleet and the budget. And this was kind of the really first eye opening like taste of kind of that organizational leadership that's quasi government, but not government. And so after about a year and 3 months, I went to graduate school at Fresno State for a master's in public administration. And at that point in time, I thought I really wanted to be a county supervisor, where it was a political kind of position, but also salaried, great benefits. But ultimately, in one of my classes, um, we were required to write a paper on a subject, and somehow I landed on the difference between a strong mayor form of government and a council manager form of government. And at the time, I didn't really know that much of the difference, but I fell in love with the city management profession after that. And coincidentally, one of my friends from preschool, his mom was a city manager of Katati, one of the smaller cities in Sonoma County. And I was able to interview her and learn kind of about her pathway a little bit more. She particularly came from more of like a technical background before going into city management. But I was always kind of focused on a general background. So at Fresno, I interned with the County of Fresno, Special Districts Management, and post kind of grad school, I had my heart set on becoming a management analyst. The Bay Area super competitive, and I I think kind of the aha moment for me was having a graduate degree, having some experience, and not getting an interview or feedback from the city of Santa Rosa on why I didn't move forward from a position. So I kind of quickly knew if I can't move forward for this kind of position in my hometown, I'm going to have to look elsewhere. And I think this was a real blessing for me where it wasn't just looking elsewhere in the Bay Area or the state, but it was outside of the state, and having familiar support to make a move like that was huge, but also being able to get a little bit out of my comfort zone was massive as well. So my first paid position in local government was as a management analyst for the city of Mesquite in Texas, which is just outside of Dallas. It's about 100, yeah, it's about 140,000 people. And so I was in the public works department. I had an amazing mentor there, Tim James, who was a department director, but he was a former city manager with an ICMA credential. So he really pushed me to get involved, join membership organizations, and help bring up the next generation. Um, we had about 250 employees and oversaw 8 different divisions. While I was there, I met my wife, Christy, and I really wanted to bring her into this because I think one of the most important things in local government and progressing is having a supportive partner who understands the demands of this profession and believes in the work that is invaluable. So I know that I wouldn't be where I am today without her support. For the most part, if you're in this kind of role, you have many long nights. You have some city council meetings that can end anywhere from 10 to 1 a.m. So it's definitely one where you need support. So I was with the city of Mesquite for about a year and a half, and then I want to come back to California. I want to be close to home, but I also wanted to start my clock in the CalPERS system. Um, so I was thinking ahead, but I started with the city of San Bernardino as an administrative analyst in the city manager's office. Um, I knew what I was getting into when I was there. They were just coming out of bankruptcy, so I knew there was a challenge. Um, and kind of the reality is, I was talking to my supervisor about this, and they weren't looking for just anyone in that kind of role. They were looking for someone that knew the area a little bit, that wouldn't be kind of intimidated. And I also had some public works experience, which was helpful. But I was there for 2 years. It was definitely a challenging city, but also a rewarding city. I learned a lot. Um, and then I had the opportunity to come back home to Sonoma County and worked for the city of Petaluma. So I started there December 2019 as a senior management analyst in public works. Um, and as you know from the date, there's a lot can change pretty quickly. So I started in December, and COVID hit about 3 months later. One thing I really admired about the city manager, Peggy Flynn, who will actually be speaking at the annual conference, is that she went out of her way to meet every single new employee personally and to make them feel welcomed. And I really think meeting Peggy during our kind of one on one and letting her know about my generalist experience um, kind of was very valuable to me when COVID hit. That I was able to flex not just in the public works department, but in the city overall. When COVID hit, I got pulled into general government work. And after the tragic murder of George Floyd, as one of the only BIPOC leadership team members, I helped staff our ad hoc community advisory committee on race relations and community policing. And a couple years later, in December 2021, I officially moved to the city manager's office. I worked on diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging initiatives, helped implement our hybrid police oversight model, and focus on organizational leadership and development. Um, I think the next kind of big adjustment in life or change for me was in April of 2022, where I finally became parents to our son Joaquin. And kind of becoming a father really deepened my commitment to equity work as a whole. When I look at my son, I think about kind of the world around him and what I would like to see him grow into. I want to make sure that he has a bunch of opportunities, um, but that children like him can grow up to see themselves in leaders and that all positions are attainable. So, kind of equity work became more of a focus, and this became a little bit more personal for me. And then in April 2024 is when I ended up starting in the city of Pleasanton. My dad would always joke around with me because my start date was April 1st. So he was like, "Is that actually your start date, or you just is an April Fool's joke?" Um, but it's been an awesome place with a great team. I saw an opportunity not just to support kind of what they were doing, but to help reimagine what inclusive governance looks like. So I've been really helping a lot with the equity work, but also a lot of innovation as well. Um, so bringing in new ideas, new technology, and helping move the organization forward.
That's cool. Thanks so much for giving us your story. I took some notes there as you were talking. You gave some great shout outs to your mentor, Tim, and your wife, Christy, and a person I refer to affectionately as Petaluma Peggy. We just did a GovLove episode with her a few weeks ago. So if you missed that, I would certainly recommend that to our listeners. She is a really fascinating person. Can't wait to meet her at the conference. I really admire, Aaron, the courage that you had to venture out to Texas and try something different. And even, coming back to California, you've definitely taken some moves that might seem risky to some of our listeners. I mean, you're doing a big commute right now to get the kind of experience that you want. So I think that's hopefully some inspiration to some of our listeners. So we want to hear a little bit more about what you are doing in the city of Pleasanton. Just start by kind of telling us about the community for those who may not be familiar with it.
Yeah, thank you. And absolutely. So, City of Pleasanton is about 80,000 people, and it's in the Tri Valley area of the Bay Area. So the Tri Valley is three valleys that are on the opposite side of the mountains in the East Bay. So you have Oakland is your major city in the East Bay, which most people would recognize, and so it's right in Alameda County as well. So the cities and towns in the Tri Valley are the town of Danville, the city of Dublin, the city of Livermore, the city of San Ramon, and the city of Pleasanton. So they all kind of work together and have very similar backgrounds. So we have this small town feel with some big city challenges and opportunities. We're home to major employers like Workday, and also Kaiser recently moved their headquarters to Pleasanton. But also deeply rooted neighborhoods where families have lived for generations. Um, it's really interesting where there are families that have lived there in generations, but I would also say it's really culturally diverse. There's a lot of immigrants coming in. There's a lot of those that are commuting in from Silicon Valley, tech jobs, and what have you, that our demographics, I believe, are actually in the low 40 percentage of Asian American and Pacific Islanders. So what excites me most here is that they're not just content to be a nice suburb, but they're actively working to grow and evolve where everyone belongs here. So yeah, that's where you get Belong Pleasanton, that it's not just with our own organization, but also in the community.
Looking to develop your leadership skills and drive change in the issues you are passionate about? The Fells Institute of Government's Master of Public Administration programs at the University of Pennsylvania offer experiences shaped by our dynamic students and enriched by faculty and staff committed to your academic and professional success. Our programs equip future public leaders with the managerial and analytical toolkit needed to think critically and solve complex societal issues. Immersed in Philadelphia, an inspiring civic laboratory, students can make an impact locally or use the skills they learn in the classroom to affect change in communities across the globe. Courses are taught by recognized experts and practitioners, and career support begins on day one. Our faculty and advisors work with you closely to identify your professional goals, map out your career strategy, and align your electives and program opportunities to advance your career. Fells graduates are a connected community and stand out wherever they go for their ability to innovate and generate solutions. Join us for a virtual information session to learn about our courses, experiential learning opportunities, and extensive alumni network. Details at fells.upenn.edu.
It's great. So I think by the time this airs, the Camp Gov life will be behind us. But right now, as we are recording, I am about to get on a plane tomorrow and fly out to Santa Rosa, a place in the world that I have never visited, and I can't wait. So you've spent a lot of time there. I would love to hear your can't miss recommendations for Northern California for conference attendees.
Yeah, absolutely. There is so much to explore. I would say for you, since you're going to be right at the Flamingo Hotel, presumably, one of my favorite coffee shops is Avid Coffee, and it's in Montgomery Village, so about 2 to 3 blocks away from the hotel venue itself. But there's a ton to explore. I would say take advantage of the Smart Train, which is the Sonoma Marin Area Rapid Transit. They just opened their latest stop about 2 to 3 months ago in Windsor, California. So it goes all the way up to Windsor and all the way south to Larkspur. So you can even grab a ferry from the very end in Larkspur and go into San Francisco. So that's a great way to move around the area. But some highlights that you should definitely check out. The Barlow is in Sebastopol. A lot of great eateries, a lot of great places to try new kind of beverages, both alcohol and non-alcoholic. I would say if you're really wanting to try some Sonoma County wine, but don't have time to go to a bunch of wineries, you can check out Region, which it's kind of like a tap house, if you will, but for wine. So they have dispensers on different bottles you can try. And one of the other dangerous things is you can order food from all the other restaurants around and they'll deliver it directly there. So Sushi Kosho is really good. Acre Pizza is one of my favorites that's out there as well. In Santa Rosa, I'm a big fan of Matote Food Park, which was kind of a public-private partnership, if you will, and ended up becoming somewhat of an incubator for those that want to have restaurants in the Roseland area of Santa Rosa. So it's an area that's meant for gathering, a lot of different food trucks rotating, and they're at their new location right now off of Sebastopol Road. Montgomery Village is great. It's really been revamped since I grew up around there. A lot of new restaurants, and it's really close to the venue as well. And being that I spent a lot of time in downtown Petaluma, while I was working in the city of Petaluma. Um, it's wonderful in general. Stellina Pronto is my favorite bakery in the North Bay. Um, I had a check-in with Meredith actually, a couple weeks ago, and we went there for the first time. And so she loved the baked goods, so it's not just me, just throwing it out there.
For our listeners, we're talking about Meredith Reynolds, ELGL board member and fellow Santa Rosa fangirl.
And kind of off vacation kind of resident at times as well.
Yeah, great. Yeah, she got home there. Okay, thank you. You have whet my appetite and made me very excited to come explore this place and meet some new friends at the conference.
I'm glad.
Um, so next, I want to talk to you about your role. The assistant to the city manager position is arguably one of the most versatile roles in local government and city management. And um, so far, no two of these positions have been alike from the ones that I've met over the course of my career. So just share with us a little bit about the scope of your duties in Pleasanton and some of the things that you're working on right now that have you the most energized.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. I totally agree with you. No two are the same. No city has kind of the same process on even how to get to this position. So it's almost like a unicorn, if you will, depending on where you're located. But I think part of the beauty and the challenge of this position is that no 2 days look the same. So currently, I oversee emergency management, which means kind of helping to ensure we're ready for everything from earthquakes to power shutoffs. Having come from Sonoma County, I've seen the devastation from fires firsthand. The Tubbs fire and the Kincaid fire in the Santa Rosa and Sonoma County area were devastating. So, um, this experience kind of helped shape how I approach emergency preparedness here in Pleasanton. Or, luckily, knock on wood, they haven't had to deal with any major fire at all. But and I know we're recording today, but today in September is Emergency Preparedness Month. So it's really important for any listeners out there, no matter where you're at, get your go bag prepared. Understand and know kind of your routes of exit. I know when I was in Texas, there was a tornado that whipped through right before I started with the city of Mesquite. You can be on the East Coast where there could be hurricanes. So just being prepared is huge. Just this past week, I was observing a workshop our emergency manager was doing, and right before we were going to talk about power shutoffs in the presentation, the lights went out. It was a really hot day, and so the system was kind of overtaxed, and so there was actually a power shutoff. The irony was incredible, and a lot of the residents that were there um, kind of really had a kick out of it, but also kind of understood the seriousness of it, and kind of got to see it firsthand. Um, Yeah, it was wild. But then I also lead kind of Belong Pleasanton, which stands for Building Equity, Leadership, Opportunity, Nurturing, and Growth in Pleasanton. It's our equity initiative. So to me, kind of emergency management and equity aren't kind of disconnected, but emergency preparedness is really an equity issue. Um, so who gets left behind in disasters? I know in Santa Rosa, an entire kind of mobile home park was burned down during the major fires, but it's usually our most vulnerable residents are kind of affected. So doing a lot of work around resiliency, a lot of work around equity, but then also special projects. And I really enjoy innovation. Um, Growing up in the Bay Area, you have a lot of tech in general. Right now, you have the artificial intelligence boom, where you have OpenAI that's based in San Francisco. You have Anthropic that's based in San Francisco. You have Google that's based, or Alphabet that's based in the peninsula. You have all the tech out here. So, really being forward thinking and looking ahead to see where we could bring on new technology to help make our lives a little bit more efficient and a little more effective goes a long way.
You are working on some very cool stuff. I'm impressed.
Thank you.
Um, I mentioned in the intro, congratulations on being recognized as an ELGL local government influencer this year.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a big
Super
deal.
exciting.
So I'm going to just embarrass you a little bit here and read some things from your nomination. Your nominator described you as a dynamic leader, reshaping local government through equity, inclusion, and community driven change, and went on to describe your leadership as, quote, grounded in authenticity, creativity, and a deep commitment to representation, making you a true change maker in the field of local government. Can you believe all that hype?
It's an honor, definitely humbling. It's definitely hard to believe, especially like I said earlier, not having that linear career path in local government. So very
It's
blessed.
not hard to believe. You seem awesome. Congratulations. I loved this phrase from your nomination, grounded in authenticity. How do you stay grounded in authenticity in your local government work?
Absolutely no, thank you for that. I identify as Mexican American. I am a kind of first generation, second generation, and third generation. So my grandmother was born in Tempe, Arizona. My father was born in Southern California, actually during um, kind of orange season. So he grew up in Northern California, but because the orange season was born down in Southern California. And then my mom is an immigrant from Jalisco, Mexico. And so I think to me, being Mexican American, there's a lot of cultural significance in family and rooted in authenticity. Um, I am also one of the younger cousins where I have probably about close to 50 first cousins. And on both sides of the family, I'm either the second youngest, with my brother being the youngest, or the fourth youngest, with my brother being the third youngest. So I've had a lot of people to look up to. And recognizing now a little bit older, um, having my parents sacrifice a lot to send my brother and I to private Catholic schools and really focusing on our education. I understand the privilege that I do have and how it's important to give back. And I think that really kind of leads to authenticity where um, more recently in the past probably 4 years, I've gotten more involved with the local government Hispanic network. I currently serve on the board of directors there as the vice president of membership, and have been helping build new regional chapters. Currently in California, so Unidos NorCal, which was established this past January, and Unidos SoCal, which is working on being established this fall, as well as helping kind of chapters nationally. I've been the membership director for the Municipal Management Association of Northern California the past 2 years as well. So helping to grow the profession, but always having um, kind of that equity lens and that family background in my mind as well. And then in Sonoma County in particular, I've gotten more involved with the community there, which I serve as the vice president for Los Cien Sonoma County, which is a Latin advocacy group there. So having various events, giving back. This past Thursday, we actually had our State of the Latino Community address, which had about 600 um, participants there at Sonoma State University, which is a great event and helps kind of provide for more equity, not just with kind of local government, elected officials, but also in private entities.
600 participants is pretty impressive. Good job.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been getting bigger and bigger every year. Kind of sold out this past year, and one of our keynotes was actually the executive director to the organization Vote Latino. So it was really interesting to get her out there. She grew up in Sonoma County, and so she had this distinct kind of story on really kind of how equity comes up in today's age.
Well, thank you for sharing a little bit about your personal life. I love this connection you've drawn to the influence of your family in your public service. I know your family must be really proud of you and the work that you're doing.
Thank you. I think, like I said earlier, I think it's all connected. When I look at all the associations I'm a member of, it's one's particularly local government, one is kind of the Latin community and local government, one is the Latin community, but working with so they're all kind of interconnected in some way or another, and there's a lot of overlap, which is great.
It's awesome. What do you see as the future of equity and inclusion work in local government? Any advice that you have for other local government professionals about staying the course in this work?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a really tough question, particularly the past year or so. I think the future of this work is integration. It's less about standalone programs and more about embedding equity into everything we do. It's becoming data driven and outcome focused. So here's kind of my advice for local governments: make it operational, not aspirational. Integrate equity into budgeting, service, delivery, hiring, planning. When it's built into operations, it survives kind of political changes. Focus on outcomes and not optics. What actually changes for residents? Build coalitions across departments with community and with other jurisdictions. Tell the story, connect equity to what people already care about: emergency preparedness, economic development, customer service. Be patient but persistent. Culture change takes time. And remember why we're here. Public service is about serving all the public. That's our job. I do want to note that there are a lot of different associations out there that actually was speaking on a panel last week at our equity summit for the Municipal Management Association Northern California. And one of the takeaways I gave there is that you're not alone and you shouldn't have to think you're alone. So seeking out associations can be gold and can be helpful for you. So there is there's GARE, which is the Government Alliance on Race and Equity. There is the Local Government Hispanic Network, which I mentioned earlier. Um, there is the National Forum for Black Public Administrators. INAPA is the International, going to butcher this, Association for Asian American Pacific Islanders. And then there's also associations like Civic Pride. So I think in this work, you're stronger together than being just an individual group. So if you're having some struggles in your own organization, um, look outside and join something bigger as well.
That's really great. I'm not making this up. When you said, "Remember why we're here," I like got some chills, got the little goosebumps up my arms. Like, yeah, that's really powerful. Remember why we're here and what we're doing, and it speaks to the heart of who and what we are as ELGL, talking about building your connections and having your network and your support system. That's so important for just all of us, for our professional development and continued learning, and just having that support to keep doing the good work. Why we're here. I love it. All right.
Thank you.
What does the future hold for you? Are we going to see you announced as a city manager sometime in the near future?
It's a tough question. That's absolutely the goal. Um, and I'm kind of being intentional and preparing for it. But I love it here in Pleasanton. The work is meaningful. The team is exceptional. And I'm learning from our city manager. But I also know that my next step is to lead an organization as a city manager. Um, I've been really fortunate to learn from some really good ones. I have Jerry here in the city of Pleasanton. Um, Pedaling with Peggy, as you coined her earlier, and then Andrew Miller when I was in the city of San Bernardino. Kind of each has modeled different aspects of excellent leadership, and I've learned kind of different approaches from each and every one of them. One thing that's kind of tricky for me right now that I'm trying to navigate is recently, this past spring, the California City Management Foundation kind of released their latest survey for 2025, and kind of shows that most California city managers are in their 40s and 50s, and only 5% are in their 30s, like me. So that's one challenge I'm going to have to kind of hurdle. I'm still building towards that. And I'm just trying to be strategic with my timeline. I've really prioritized learning from people. I prioritize education, and I prioritize taking leadership roles in various organizations. So membership organizations in general. So anytime that I want to get some experience, I wasn't currently getting at work. I was looking elsewhere as well to be more well rounded. So definitely hope to get there at some point. I know kind of growing up in Sonoma County, one of the things that pushed me, I feel like as an adult, into this field was that no public leader really looked like me. And so it was hard for a BIPOC kid kind of to see themselves in leadership. And I wanted to change that. So really, that's what's kind of been a driving force for me personally. Hope to get there someday. I had this goal, a 5-year goal to get there kind of before I turned 41. But we'll see if that happens. I'm in no rush. I also recognize that only 13% of California city managers identify currently as Hispanic or Latino. So I it's have some work to do in terms of age, but also ethnicity as well, to kind of not necessarily break that glass ceiling because people have already done that before, but to eventually kind of uplift that representation as well. So it's not impossible, but I know it's going to be challenging.
Well, I love to hear emerging talent in the profession just say very assertively, like, yep, that's the goal. That's where I'm headed. And I know you'll get there, and you're doing incredible work now in Pleasanton, and it'll be fun to watch and see how your career grows and develops and what you do next. Is
Thank you.
there
Appreciate
anything
it.
else that you want to share with our audience before we wrap up?
I'm I'm just grateful for the ELGL community. Back when I first started my career, I know that I wrote for, they reached out, wrote for a blog post, kind of Mount Rushmore, introducing myself. That was my first taste of kind of writing in local government. And we did a collaboration when I was working with the Urban Management Assistance North Texas. Had a little co-branded event, and so ELGL has always been fascinating to me in terms of the community, and I really appreciate that. I'm also excited that Camp Gov Life is coming to my hometown in Santa Rosa, and really looking forward to the content. I'm speaking on a panel on Friday on so the cartoon Peanuts was written by Charles Schultz, who spent most of his life in Santa Rosa. So we'll be talking about kind of the intersectionality of Peanuts and local government, kind of looking at different clips and how they relate to what we do as public servants. So I'm really looking forward to that. Um, but what I want to leave you with is kind of, if you're early in your career, get involved, whether that's with ELGO or another association. Find mentors, join membership association. It matters. You don't need to do this work alone. Um, I know one of the biggest things I've heard over the past probably 6 months is the idea that some people are having trouble finding their community. And I'm here to say, like, that community exists. You just have to find it. You just have to know where to look. And I know they'll welcome you with open arms. And then to the seasoned folks that are out there, invest in the next generation. Take the call, answer the email, share what you've learned. That's how we build a profession. We're all in this together.
That's so great. I can't wait to meet you in real life this week at Camp Gov Life in Santa Rosa. And of course, as we've been talking about, Camp Gov Life will be in the history books by the time this episode airs, but I hope it will be a fun reminder for all of us who were there and got to experience it, and a nice like teaser for those who couldn't make it this year that hopefully they'll be able to sign up in advance for next year. And Santa Rosa will still be there. People can come and visit and learn a little bit more about Northern California. You've given them a lot of things to come and check out.
Absolutely. It's super exciting. I'm looking forward to meeting you as well.
Okay, awesome. Well, if you are a GovLove listener, you know what's coming up next. If you could be the GovLove DJ, what song would you pick as our exit music for this episode?
Had to think long and hard for this, but as I mentioned last week was the Sonoma County State of the Latino Address. Our executive director was playing this nonstop, and as it's currently Hispanic Heritage Month, I would probably go with Mi Gente by J Balvin.
Okay, this is very on theme. Great pick. Well, that ends our episode today. Thanks so much to our guest, Aarón Zavala from the City of Pleasanton, California. Really enjoyed getting to visit with you, and thanks for sharing your story and your advice for all of us. To our audience, thank you for listening. You can reach us at elgo.org/govlove or on social media at GovLove Podcast. This has been GovLove, a podcast about local government.
Mira el ritmo como los tiene. Hago música que entretiene. Mi música los tiene fuerte bailando y se baila así.